everyone, it's me again, Brittany, and I'm here today to do something that I have gotten requested so many times, which is funny to me because I feel like I don't do that impressive of a job of it. But here we are. I'm sure you could probably tell from the title of the video and from my bare face that we are finally doing the makeup and books tag. So yeah, I'm really excited to do this, and I wasn't really planning on doing my makeup today, so that's kind of the only bummer about this video right now because I definitely wanted to film it today, but I was just feeling a barefaced day. So yeah, let's just get into it. You're gonna see me go from this to this. I've always wanted to do that. It's such a beauty guru thing. The first step that I do is primer. I don't do this step always, but I just got a new primer, so like I've been doing it a lot more. And that is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filters Soft Matte Primer. It is in like this little bottle. I apply it with my hands. I just like put a little pump on the back of my hand. I hope I'm not out of focus for this entire video because my contacts aren't in, because they were hurting my eyeballs. Also, do you see that? My dog accidentally scratched me yesterday. He got really excited when he saw me. Okay, what is the question? The question for this is pick a book that left a lasting impression. Okay, so for this one, I actually chose The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. And I chose it because, if you guys didn't know, I went to a Catholic school growing up my entire life. Well, like, yeah, for like 8 years, 10 years, whatever, until 8th grade. And I actually read the Da Vinci Code in class in 6th grade in my Catholic school. And if you don't know, it kind of challenges some beliefs that are set in stone for Christianity or Catholicism in particular. And I was just very impressed. I remember sitting there and just being like, a little bit more. And just, I don't know, it just really opened my mind, and I wanted to get to the next books right away, and I just never did. But I bought them all later in my life, so I want to get to them eventually because I think it's fun just to sometimes challenge some beliefs that you've always had, and I really like the way those books are written because it's just so, I don't know, it's very interesting. So my next step is foundation, and this is also the Fenty Beauty foundation. I've been wanting this for a year. If you guys, I actually have always been really, really interested in makeup, and before I restarted my booktube channel, I was debating whether to start a makeup channel or not, but this isn't me, so I'm glad I chose for books. But this is the Fenty Beauty foundation. If you didn't know, it's like made by Rihanna. It's her line at Sephora, and yeah, it's a little bit too dark for me, but it's because I'm supposed to get a tan soon, and I figured it'll match me then. So yeah, for this I just put like a pump and a half on the back of my hand. Oh, that's more like 2 pumps. And I take my beauty blender. For this I kind of prefer, you're supposed to use a brush for it, but my skin's already pretty dry and this is a drying foundation, so beauty blender just works better. Plus beauty blenders, it's just like more, it's less full coverage. So yeah, and this is a pretty full coverage foundation, so. And the question is pick your favorite first book in a series. I actually had some problems figuring this out. There's tons of great first books. I feel like obviously if you continue on with the series, normally it's because the first book was great. But the one that stood out to me probably the most is gonna be The Hunger Games. I remember my mom was the one that actually told me about it. She's like, I think you're gonna like this, and I was like, well, I might as well give it a shot. And it was just such a new and different idea, and it was so action-packed and heartwarming, and it made you cry. It was just such a good first book. Dab, 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 dab. I don't have much else to say about The Hunger Games because I'm sure you all have read it and know just how great it is. I did want to mention I'm trying to pick books for my answers that I don't talk about as much on my channel. I have been getting tons of requests for more underrated books, and though these are by no means underrated, they are ones that get less coverage on my channel, and I do want to start reading more underrated books. There's so many popular books that are currently on my TBR that I've already bought that I need to get to before I'm able to shop for underrated books, if that makes sense. So I hope you guys don't mind that it might not be for a little while longer that I get to more underrated books. But I do want to start doing that. So if you want to leave suggestions for underrated books down below, I will look into them. I can't promise I will get them right away, but I'll look. I'm sure you can kind of tell that it's a little too dark for my face, but it matches my shoulders perfectly, which is what I normally go for because my face is always way paler than the rest of me. It just doesn't tan. Gotta get that jawline and those ears. So the next step is concealer. I actually don't normally use concealer. I do it for like special events or days where I really want my makeup to be all out. Normally I will just do foundation, my eyebrows, some mascara, and like bronzer, and use bronzer in my eyelids or on my, yeah. And that's normally it. That's all I normally do for a day. So I'll do a little bit more for today just because I think it's fun, but I thought you guys should know. So I use what is this called again? The Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. This one's definitely too light for me, so I have to have a light hand with it, and I just kind of like, oh, bop, bop, and then bop, bop. I don't normally put it anywhere else. Sometimes right here on my jaw, I have a lot of discoloration right there, and I guess right here, I also have discoloration there, so. But since it is too light, I try to not do it as often. And then I just use the same beauty blender. So the question for this is, pick a character you wish you could get rid of. Again, this is a question I had a little bit of difficulty answering because I feel like normally you can't pick the villain for this because the villain is there for a reason. Without the villain, we can't really have the story. So yeah, I picked though Lucia from, I think that's her name, from the Fallen Kingdoms series. She is the little sorceress, and I hate her. She is just, she doesn't add anything good to the story, like, until the ending, but, like, if she hadn't been in the story at all, things would have happened so much faster, or they wouldn't have happened. Well, I mean, to be fair, I guess they wouldn't have happened at all because they needed a sorceress to do a lot of this stuff. But I just hate her character. I think she's very annoying. I didn't even like her in the first one. And then in the second one, she just goes all, she's kind of a bitch. I don't know. So I hated her character, and I can appreciate that she did grow more into herself in the last book, but even then she was just so entitled, and it was kind of frustrating because it was just, I don't know. I never saw where she was coming from. I thought the ending was weird. I thought her whole storyline was very, very odd. And I didn't like her at all. Yeah. Okay, my next step is I always use powder. And this is the Bare Minerals Bare Pro. It's like powder foundation. And I use this little brush with it. It's just like this, I think it's an e.l.f. brush. Yeah. And because I don't powder my whole face, so. For powder, it's pick your favorite last book in a series. Ooh. This one, sorry, it's not very original, but Clockwork Princess. Clockwork Princess is so ahead of its time. It's just so good. I haven't reread the series, and I really, really need to, because the fact is it's definitely one of my favorite series of all time, and I haven't even reread it. I barely remember everything that happens in it now. So I need to get to it, but it just like ended so perfectly. It has a love triangle, if you guys probably know, but it has a love triangle in it, and love triangles are just never ended correctly, but I feel like this book did it so well, and it was also very heartbreaking, and just like, but everything that I wanted to happen happened, and I just really appreciate it. It was also kind of like steampunky, which is cool, but I loved it. Just cover like, the reason I use like a powder foundation instead of just like a regular powder, I do like just translucent powders, but since the main thing that I'm normally powdering is my under eyes, this just adds a little bit of extra coverage, and since I don't use concealer most of the time, it works really well for that. And yeah, Fenty foundation doesn't actually really need to be set with a powder, is what I was told by the Sephora ladies. And I agree, it's pretty drying, so if you set it with powder, it just can be like a little bit too much for your face, and I already have kind of dry skin, so that's what it says actually. So eyebrows, the loves of my life, if you weren't aware. I use the Anastasia Brow Wiz. I also normally use the brow powder, but I ran out and they didn't have it in stores, so it's coming in the mail. And I normally just do the actual brow wizzing and then use like the darker shade kind of on the outer edge and then very slightly in the front because I don't like the very like super defined look. And I recently changed to the taupe, which is a lot lighter than what I'd been doing, but it matches my roots a lot better, and I've kind of been liking the lighter eyebrow look. I don't know. So for eyebrows, it's a book that you think everyone should read because everyone should do their eyebrows. So for this, again, it's one that I kind of talk about fairly often, but I think that if you consider yourself a lover of fantasy, you have to read The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And the reason for it is because it made me realize that, I don't know, it just made me realize how different and how extensive a fantasy world can be from just the regular ones that I normally read, and I loved it so much. It gave me, I don't know, it just really, you could tell that Patrick Rothfuss put his all into that book, that he used every ounce of imagination possible to create that story. And I can't really talk while I do my eyebrows, so that's why I'm still talking to you. And I loved it. I loved it so much. But for a That's really it. Especially now that I've gotten like a lighter brow pencil. You really can barely tell the difference between like my done eyebrow and my non-done eyebrow, which is what I like because that means like when I take my makeup off, my eyebrows still feel like they're there. But for like non-fantasy rec, it's still kind of a fantasy rec, but I really think that everyone should try The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It is the writing in there is just so beautiful. It really felt like I was just eating the most delectable dessert. That's how it felt for my brain. I was reading the words and it felt like the most delectable words that could have been used, and it's so atmospheric. It's just gorgeous. Everything about it is so fantastic, and I highly recommend it. Even if you're not the biggest fantasy reader, it's not really fantasy, it's more urban fantasy, but I love the magic in it, and I love the romance kind of, and everything. It was just, it's definitely one of my all-time favorite books. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of show you how I do my eyebrows on this side since you can actually see this side. First, I normally start by drawing a line from like the start of my eyebrow under all the way to this like weird mid part where it gets like really thick. And then I do the top. And after that, I do the line right here in the tail. And I take it from under as well until it reaches a nice little point. And then I kind of just fill in the back. Concentrating a lot on this little area because for whatever reason my hair's super sparse right there. And just kind of like very like light lines throughout this whole middle area. And then it gets more serious up here. And normally I just take and start making like slightly wider lines away from each other. Until it looks like that. And then facing this way, I make one small line. Like that. Just so that it like looks a little more, I don't know. This one I did a little bit too dark, but we'll fix that because I always set my brows besides like the powder. The powder makes it just a little bit more defined, and it also holds it in place a lot better because if you just use pencil, then it can like rub easier. Wow, my video's already so long. And this is just the Anastasia brow gel, and I just, you know, gel the little eyebrow hairs into where I want them to go. Perfect. So their next step is eyeshadow. I'm not like the biggest eyeshadow person, but today we'll do it. I'm gonna take the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia, and I'm gonna take Warm Taupe with this like big fluffy brush and just buff it in. Start light always, you can always build on it. Oh, I forgot. Normally I put the highlight shade, that way it starts blending, but I forgot to do that, so let's do that now, I guess. I'm just gonna use the back of this brush, and I'm taking Tempera, and I'm gonna pop it right under my brow, and kind of just down to where that like edge starts, the crease color. That way, when I go back in right now, it can just start blending a little bit easier. Alright, and then I'm going to take the same Warm Taupe and kind of like make circles right at the outer edge of my eye. So I'm going to take this this shade. It's called, I think, Woodwinked by MAC. I'm not the biggest fan of MAC. I actually haven't really bought anything since this, and it's because they still test on animals, and I mean, you guys know I love animals, so I pretty much solely buy from companies that don't test on animals, and I just kind of take this small brush and I'm gonna rub it into my eye. Because I really like the goldenness of this shade. It's so casual, it's great for days like today where I'm really not doing anything, so I don't need fun makeup, but fun makeup is fun every once in a while. Maybe I'll do another video where I do like really cool eyeshadow or something. We'll see. Those take me forever. And then I take this really tiny little like smudgy brush, and I take the same like Woodwinked color and run it under my eyes. I think the most important part is always remembering to do it under your eyes, because it just adds so much more to the look. Oh, and for eyeshadow, I forgot to answer the question. Eyeshadow is a book that you think everyone should... No, that's eyebrows. Eyeshadow is pick a book that has your favorite colors on the cover. So I don't have favorite colors. I'm really, really bad at picking favorites, as you guys would probably know already. And I'm going to take this little brush and get a little bit of this. It's called Espresso. And I'm going to focus it into my outer corner. But I am really, really fond of just really pretty sunset colors, like pinks and oranges. Pinks, oranges, purples, and so I'm picking Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard Hammer of Thor because it has tons of sunset colors on it. I think the cover's gorgeous, and yeah, there's also like lightning going through it and stuff, isn't there? I'm pretty sure there is. I'm not sure, but that might be Hammer of Thor. Did I say Hammer of Thor? I meant to say Sword of Summer. And I'm just gonna kind of like deepen it up right into the corners and then right in my crease. Just to sort of, you know, I don't know, define my eyeballs. Alright, the next one is eyeliner. With this look, I don't normally do eyeliner, but we'll do like a tiny wing. I use the L'Oreal Paris Super Slim. I don't really like this. I like the Kat Von D tattoo liner, but I'm broke, so. Eyeliner is pick a dark and mysterious book. I really want to get into it because I love horror movies, so I want to get into more like thrillers and stuff. But since I haven't read any, I'm gonna go with Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. It is the darkest series. It's just, I mean, the premise of it is that there are 3 princesses in a queendom. One is an elementalist, one is a naturalist, and one is a poisoner queen, or poisoner princess. And at the age of 16 or 18, I can't remember anymore, but they have to compete with each other for the crown. Like, they have to kill each other. They have to kill their sisters to become the queen, and that's how it has always been. So it's really, really dark. Tons of stuff happens. I really recommend it if you haven't picked it up already. It's just a very different sort of fantasy. Nothing crazy. I feel like if I keep going out of focus, it's because I'm trying not to look as much at this little area. I'm trying to look more at you guys. So, yeah. Well, that's the next step. Mascara, my favorite part. I've been using the Voluminous Lash Paradise by L'Oreal, and I love it. The only downside is it kind of dries out fast, but whatever. And for mascara, it's pick a long book. Oh no, I answered this one twice. Okay, so for pick a long book, I actually said Name of the Wind. So I'm sorry, I didn't even realize that I'd already answered that. Obviously, it is an incredibly long book. The audiobook was 25 hours long. I've never listened to that long of an audiobook, and I've listened to some pretty long audiobooks, so yeah, it's definitely a chunker, but let me think of another one. Game of Thrones. I don't know how long it is exactly, I just know that I can't get through it. So its size and the size of the series intimidates me because the first 10 pages are already so difficult for me. Like, there's just so much detail. Yeah. Then the next one is actually blush, and I don't do blush ever. I don't like how it looks on me. Occasionally I will give it a shot for like a really special event, and I always kind of look at myself and I'm like, you know what, I could have done without it. So I'm just gonna do my bronzer for this, and I just take like a floofy brush, and this is the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. Right? Yeah. But for blush, it's pick a book that had some cringe-worthy romance. I'm sure you guys don't want me to hear me talk about Eleanor and Park again, but that romance was so freaking cringy. It's insane. It was gross. There were so many awkward moments where it just made me like clench up because, I mean, secondhand awkwardness, obviously. But if you want a different book, I also really think that there's a romance in Children of Blood and Bone that was kind of cringy. And not cringy for any of the awkward reasons, just cringy because I don't like insta-love, and also it just was kind of confusing because of the ending, and I mean, if you've read it, you probably know which one I'm talking about, and it's not as cringy, but I wanted to mention another romance that I didn't exactly like, besides Eleanor and Park. So, I always like Take It Around. I do everything with bronzer. I think I want to be tan. And yeah. That's kind of it. Next step is highlight. I do that last, so I'm not gonna do that yet. And lipstick. I actually almost never wear lipstick either. Mostly because my lips get, I don't know, just bothered and dry. So I would have if I still had the lipstick that I wore to Panic, but I guess I lost it at the concert, so we're just gonna answer the question with that lipstick. So number 11 is lipstick, your favorite book kiss. And I couldn't really think of one that really stood out to me above all others. I just feel like they're all pretty great, you know, but the one that I was the most probably excited for was the kiss between Rose and, you know who her love interest is in that one, and her man's in Shadow Kiss. I loved that kiss because there's just so much built-up anticipation for it, and I loved it. So yeah, and that's from the Vampire Academy. Okay, so next is contour. I use the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil. It smells like chocolate. Also, it kind of tastes like it if you happen to get the powder in your mouth. And it's what book surprised you with how much depth it had. And for this one, I'm going with Red Rising, the whole Red Rising series. I've only read the first two, but I feel like it's a theme that's going to continue. I feel like it really just makes you question society, and there's a lot of like philosophical debates in it, in his own head. and there's just very good points that are made, and I never expected Red Rising to be that way, and I love the way that the characters are made. I love how distinct everyone's personality is. I just love how much thought probably went into that book, and I think it's fantastic. I love it. So, yeah. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, highlight. I'm just using the same shade I used for my eyebrows. It's tempera, but with this brush. And highlight is pick a book that brightened your day. And for this one, I'm choosing Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor because it's just freaking magical. I love the writing. Laini Taylor just has some spectacular writing in general. And then Strange the Dreamer was just so whimsical and so heartwarming. I mean, the ending kind of hurt, if you know what I'm talking about. But everything else about it was just so, it was just so beautiful. Like throughout the whole book until I don't like very heavy highlighter, so I'm leaving it. I just was so happy and I just loved it. I loved it so much. Okay, that's gonna be it for the books and makeup tag. I hope you guys had fun. This is just kind of like my every single day makeup. I had fun doing it. I hope you guys didn't get bored with me explaining everything. I figured if you guys wanted the video, you probably wanted to know how I did it. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.